Beyond the golden sands of Baghdad, a spiritual giant emerged whose influence would transcend centuries. This is the untold journey of a man who mastered the unseen world through unwavering faith and divine wisdom. Legends speak of a presence so powerful that even the most mysterious forces of the unseen world bowed in respect. Witness the life of the Sultan of Saint, a beacon of light in darkness. Prepare to dive deep into the mysteries of the soul. Explore the life, the miracles, and the timeless secrets of the man known to the world as the greatest master of the hidden paths. In the serene province of Jilan, a child was born under a celestial grace that would change the spiritual horizon. Young Abdul Qadir carried a light that flickered even in the earliest of dawns. Guided by a mother of profound piety, he was taught the sacred value of truth above all worldly gains. This foundation of honesty became the unbreakable cornerstone of his legendary path toward spiritual mastery. The yearning for divine knowledge led him toward the legendary gates of Baghdad, the world's intellectual heart. Leaving behind his home, the young seeker ventured into a vast, unpredictable world of desert shadows. Baghdad's grand silhouette emerged like a golden mirage, where scholars and poets whispered eternal truths. The young traveler stood before the heavy gates, ready to embrace the heavy burden of sacred divine knowledge. Within the city of light, he embraced the shadows of profound poverty and isolation for years. His hunger was not for bread, but for the spiritual nourishment that only the most dedicated souls. Fate led him to the presence of great masters, who recognized the dormant fire within his spirit. Under their rigorous tutelage, he polished his heart until it shone like a flawless spiritual diamond. Seeking ultimate closeness to the divine, he withdrew into the desolate ruins and vast empty deserts. In the profound silence of the wilderness, he faced the trials that would forge his legendary character. Alone with his creator, he wrestled with the ego's whispers and the shadows of the unseen world. Every moment of solitude was a step toward the absolute mastery of his own internal universe. After 25 years of intense devotion, the gates of divine wisdom were swung wide for his soul. A celestial light descended upon him, transforming the humble seeker into the Sultan of Saints. He returned to the streets of Baghdad not as a student, but as a spiritual lighthouse for humanity. The world was about to witness the miracles of a man who commanded the unseen. Upon the wooden pulpit of Baghdad, his voice resonated like celestial thunder, shaking the very foundations of the soul. Thousands gathered, captivated by his spiritual authority that commanded both the seen and unseen. Legends whisper that even the hidden tribes of the jinn bowed before his spiritual presence in the deep forests. His word was a law that transcended the physical, reaching into the mysterious dimensions. Great sultans and powerful viziers sought his counsel, trembling in the presence of his divine dignity. Though they wore crowns of gold, they stood as humble servants before the Sultan of the Saints. When a devastating storm threatened the city, it is said his silent prayer held back the raging winds. Nature itself seemed to recognize the command of a heart perfectly aligned with the divine. He possessed the rare ability to read the hidden secrets written upon the tablets of human hearts. No lie could stand before his piercing gaze, which saw through the veils of worldly deception. In times of famine, his humble kitchen fed thousands, never running dry of nourishment. A single basket of bread became a boundless ocean of mercy, defying the harsh laws of the physical world. Legends tell of the Euphrates bowing to his command, its rising waters receding at his silent gesture. Even the wild, untamable currents of the river acknowledge the authority of the great Sultan of Saints. When the shadows of sorcery tried to challenge his light, they vanished like mist before the morning sun. His spiritual shield was impenetrable, forged in the divine furnace of pure, absolute monotheistic devotion. Hardened criminals and ruthless outlaws fell to their knees upon hearing the profound depth of his voice. A single glance from the Master could dissolve a lifetime of sin into tears of repentance. His sovereignty extended far beyond the physical borders of Baghdad, reaching every corner of the Muslim world. The unseen guardians of the earth recognized him as their supreme leader and their spiritual sovereign. Upon the sacred soil of Baghdad, he laid the foundation of a sanctuary that would outshine the sun. His Madrasah became a beacon, drawing seekers of truth from the farthest corners of the earth. Inside its majestic halls, the air was thick with the scent of ancient ink and divine devotion. Every corner echoed with the sacred whispers of students reciting the eternal verses of spiritual wisdom. When he spoke, time itself seemed to pause to listen to his profound spiritual nectar. His words were not mere sounds, but seeds of light planted deep within the fertile soil of hearts. Within these walls, he transformed ordinary men into luminous stars of the spiritual firmament. His teaching was a divine alchemy, turning the lead of the ego into the pure gold of divine love. He stood as a fierce guardian of the sacred law, harmonizing the hidden truth with the outer practice. His path was a bridge, uniting the heart's deep longing with the mind's rigorous discipline. From the plains of Africa to the mountains of Asia, seekers abandoned their worlds to reach his feet. His sanctuary knew no borders, welcoming every soul that thirsted for the pure water of Gnosis. Thousands of manuscripts were born within these sacred walls, preserving the divine light for future generations. His wisdom flowed through the pens of scribes, etching eternal truths upon the fragile skin of history. Great spiritual masters gathered around him, seeking the silent fragrance of his unparalleled presence. In this sanctuary, the elite of the unseen world exchanged secrets that the mundane mind could never truly comprehend. His Madrasah stood as a formidable fortress against the encroaching tides of confusion and spiritual decay. From here, a disciplined army of scholars marched forth to heal a fractured and lost world. The lessons taught in the heart of Baghdad began to echo across the vast oceans and distant lands. The sanctuary was no longer just a building, but a living spirit of eternal guidance. As his fame reached the heavens, the shadows of envy began to stir in the hearts of the prideful. Malicious whispers filled the corridors of power, seeking to extinguish his blinding spiritual light. Summoned before the mighty Caliph, he stood as a mountain of peace against a sea of suspicion. The golden halls of the palace felt cold as worldly power tried to challenge divine authority. His detractors demanded a sign, hoping to expose him as a mere pretender of the sacred paths. Yet, every trap they laid became a stage for his God-given grace to shine even brighter. Accusations of heresy were cast like stones against his flawless character, attempting to shatter his reputation. But his heart remained an impenetrable fortress, anchored in the absolute truth of the eternal divine. He chose the path of sacred silence, allowing his noble character to answer the loud cries of his enemies. In the profound stillness of his soul, the echoes of hatred were lost forever. Divine intervention shielded him, as those who plotted against him were humbled by their own dark schemes. The world watched in awe as the truth emerged victorious from the ashes of betrayal. Like a mountain enduring the fiercest winter winds, his spirit remained immovable amidst the storms of persecution. He stood tall, anchored by a divine strength that no earthly king could ever hope to possess. Instead of cursing those who sought his downfall, he raised his hands in a profound prayer of mercy. His heart was a vast ocean, absorbing the poison of hatred and returning only pure love. Witnessing his unwavering grace, even his bitterest rivals began to see the error of their ways. The darkness of suspicion dissolved, replaced by a deep, communal realization of his true spiritual station. From the furnace of these trials, his legacy emerged more brilliant and refined than ever before. The world now knew that Abdul Qadir was not just a teacher, but a divine shield for humanity. Thousands of illuminated souls departed from Baghdad, carrying his sacred teachings like torches in the dark. They ventured into the unknown, driven by a divine mission to heal a broken and divided world. Through the legendary Silk Road, the essence of Al-Qadiriyyah reached the heart of Central Asia. Amidst the bustling caravans, his message of pure love resonated, transforming the spirit of ancient, distant civilizations. Across the turbulent Indian Ocean, his spiritual legacy sailed toward the emerald shores of Southeast Asia. Even the raging waves seemed to bow, acknowledging the sacred barakah of the great Sultan of Saints. In the vast golden deserts of Africa, his teachings bloomed like a spiritual oasis for the thirsty souls. His name was whispered in the deep Sahara, bringing a new dawn of divine unity. Though they spoke different tongues, the followers of Abdul Qadir recognized each other through the language of the heart. The spiritual bond surpassed every ethnic divide, creating a global brotherhood of light. He remained in Baghdad, yet his spiritual presence was felt in every corner of the vast Muslim world. Distance was no barrier for a soul that lived in the absolute nearness of the Creator. Wherever his disciples traveled, the fractured hearts of broken nations found a new sense of divine peace. Conflict dissolved into brotherhood as the pure essence of Al-Qadiriyyah healed the deep wounds of humanity. In the high, frozen peaks of the Caucasus and Anatolia, his name became a rhythmic chant of spiritual liberation. The mountains themselves seemed to vibrate with the sacred remembrance of the great Sultan's legacy. Along the bustling ports of the Mediterranean, his message was carried by merchants and sailors alike. The sea became a vast bridge for wisdom, connecting the distant horizons of the east and the west. Abdul Qadir sat in Baghdad, yet the world was now firmly within the grasp of his spiritual influence. His invisible presence guarded the faith of millions, weaving a global tapestry of divine, eternal light. Legends speak of a presence so weightless that he ascended the wooden pulpit without a single sound. His spirit was so perfectly detached that the earth itself seemed to lose its firm, material grip. From the heart of Baghdad, his voice was heard by followers thousands of miles away in distant lands. His sacred call transcended the barriers of time and space, echoing directly within the seeker's soul. A single glance from his mercy-filled eyes could heal the deepest wounds of the heart and body. Beneath his noble touch, the darkness of disease withered away, replaced by the blooming light of health. It is said he could traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye, appearing wherever a soul cried in desperation. To the Sultan of Saints, time was but a fragile veil he could easily fold. Even the angel of death acknowledged his station, yielding to the prayers he offered for the humble and the lost. Through divine permission, he brought life back to the desolate, defying the absolute finality. Weapons of iron shattered like glass when they dared to strike his sacred, divinely protected physical form. No earthly steel could pierce the spiritual armor forged in the depths of absolute, unwavering divine love. Ferocious beasts of the wilderness became as gentle as lambs in his presence, bowing their heads in silent reverence. The untamable forces of nature recognized the kingly spirit that dwelled within his heart. He was seen in multiple cities at the exact same moment, guiding the lost and feeding the poor. His soul possessed a divine fluidity, breaking the physical laws of a singular material existence. Raging flames lost their heat when they encountered the coolness of his spiritual breath. He walked through the furnace untouched, demonstrating the absolute supremacy of divine grace over the destructive elements. With a simple gesture of his hand, he could reveal the hidden wonders of the celestial realms to his students. The veils of the physical world dissolved, exposing the eternal, radiant beauty. As the decades passed, the physical form of the Sultan began to yield to the relentless march of time. Yet, his spiritual vigor only intensified, shining brighter as the worldly shadows grew longer. From the corners of the vast empire, disciples gathered in silence at the gates of his Baghdad sanctuary. A heavy stillness hung in the air, as if the earth itself sensed a monumental change. In a voice that whispered like a gentle desert breeze, he imparted the final secrets of divine love. His words were no longer lectures, but direct transmissions from the very heart of the unseen. Witnesses spoke of a celestial light that filled his chamber, a radiance that defied the laws of optics. It was as if the boundaries between the worlds were thinning, preparing for his grand return. With a final serene sigh of Allah, the Sultan of Saints surrendered his noble spirit back to its creator. The air in Baghdad grew heavy as the city lost its most powerful guardian. Legends tell that the birds ceased their singing, and the wind stood still in a moment of cosmic grief. Nature itself seemed to bow in honor of the soul that had mastered its secrets. A sea of believers carried his noble form toward his final resting place, a journey marked by immense reverence. Every step taken was a testament to the lives he touched and the hearts transformed. Centuries passed, yet the golden dome of his sanctuary in Baghdad remains a magnetic pole for wandering souls. His tomb is not a place of death, but a gateway to the eternal living spirit. Today, his name is spoken in every language, his prayers recited in every corner of the globe. The Sultan of Saints continues to guide, protect, and inspire millions from the depths of the unseen. He remained in the heart of history, a lighthouse for those navigating the turbulent seas of the material world. His legacy is an open door, inviting every seeker to find the ultimate divine peace. You have witnessed the life of the Sultan of Saints, a journey that defies the boundaries of time and logic. But a story remains a mirror. It is up to you to face your own reflection. Do not let this light fade with the shadows of your daily life. Subscribe and join the Lentera Dunia, a global brotherhood dedicated to uncovering the radiant truths of the great spiritual masters. Dive deeper into the secrets that shaped our world. Explore the stories of other luminaries who walked the edge of the divine, and let their wisdom illuminate the dark corridors of your own path. Remember, as the Sultan once taught, be with creation without self. Carry this light of selfless love within you and walk through the storms of life with an unshakable, divine peace. This has been the sacred journey of Abdul Qadir Jilani. Thank you for walking this path with us. Stay enlightened, stay connected, and we will meet again in the next chapter of history.